Why India is a developing economy and not an underdeveloped economy? Why India is a developed, underdeveloped, not an
Ma'am,
underdeveloped
also the
economy,
rise.
and
The
is a
developing.
yes, is a developing economy. So Ved told that it is because there is rise in income and the unemployment rate, poverty rates have gone down. Anything else?
Ma'am, also the rise in
Ma'am,
economy of India.
The rise in economy is not a proper word. You can say that rise in national income or the rise in production. Yes, rise in
Production.
economy
Yes.
kya hai? What is rise in economy? There has to be production activities in the economy or the GDP of the economy, national income.
Ma'am, can we say rise in GDP?
Yes, you can say there has been a consistent rise in GDP, right? But that
Okay.
consistent rise in GDP can also be a result of consistent rise in population also. Yes, as your population increases, GDP also increases. So you can actually say that there has been a steady rise in per capita income. Okay. Yes, Neha. Any other point why India is a developing economy and not an underdeveloped economy? Right. So let's start the class today. So you're all clear that why India is considered a developing economy and not a underdeveloped economy. Okay, because Indian economy has been steadily rising. The per capita income has improved a lot. The poverty, unemployment, and what other sectors have, there are a lot of industries, there are a lot of large scale industries, the social security measures that the government has taken, education, literacy, right, all these things have been steadily rising. So it is not in the underdeveloped category, but it is making stride. Although there are lot many things, the unemployment rate has not decreased that much, the poverty has not decreased that much, the incidence between the rich and the poor, that is the gap between the rich and the poor, is still not that much bridged, right? But still we are working on it, and there has been a steady growth in all these sectors. Melvin, late today? So that is why India is considered a developing economy and not a underdeveloped economy. Okay, so all three, developed, developing, and underdeveloped, all three are clear to you, right? So the only topic that we are left with, the term that we keep on using, economic development and economic growth. Okay, we use this term a lot in economics or otherwise also, whenever we, and what we do is we interchange these terms in normal, literally day to day life. When we are talking about these things, we interchange these things, economic growth and economic development. But there is a vast difference between economic growth and economic development. Okay, so when we are talking in economics terms, there is a difference, and you will use terms accordingly where they are fit. Okay, so let's see the difference between economic growth and economic development. Okay, economic growth and economic development. Acha. After that, just one more thing, we had learned about the solutions also given to different types of economies. Okay, I'll just have a quick recap. In the market economy, that is the capital economy, the solutions to the central problems of economy. What are the central problems of economy? What are the central problems of the economy?
Ma'am, the central problems of economy are the problems related to the per capita income.
No. Basic problems of an economy.
Oh, ma'am, basic, ma'am, poverty,
No.
unemployment.
No.
Okay,
What?
And can you ask again, ma'am, what is
The
the question?
basic problems or the central problems of an economy: what to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce,
to
how much
produce
to
and why to
produce.
produce, why to
Yes,
produce.
right,
Yes, ma'am.
the four
I
basic
remember.
problems: what to produce, how to produce, how much to produce, and for whom to
Produce,
produce. These are the
to
central
produce.
problems of an economy. Okay, the decisions regarding these, so these problems are tackled by different economies in different ways. We learned that the market economy, that is the capitalist economy, since it works on price mechanism, these problems are tackled. There is a free price mechanism which comes into play, and depending on the profit and the prices of commodities and demand of goods. This is decided that what is to be produced, how much it is to be produced, and for whom it is to be produced. Okay, in a socialist economy, sorry, in a socialist economy, it is decided by the state, that is the government or the governing body. It decides what to produce and how to produce, how much to produce, because in a socialist economy it is the social welfare which takes precedence over everything else. So it is the government which decides what will be produced and how much. Prices do not play a role here because prices are fixed. Okay, and in a mixed economy, because both the private and the public sector are there, so it is divided accordingly. The decisions for social welfare are taken by government and decided what to produce and how much to produce. And in the private sector, till a certain amount the price mechanism plays away, but after that it is a controlled price mechanism. That means the government does not allow the prices to rise too much and does not allow the prices to go down that much. So it is a mixed economy, mixed decision taken by the private under the aegis of government. Okay, clear how these solutions are how the solutions are given in all the three economies? Clear to all of you?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes. So now let's come to economic growth and economic development. Okay, when we are talking about economic growth, we are generally talking about the increase in national income, right? Or increase in per capita output. Per capita output or increase in national income is your GDP, gross domestic product. That means it is the total amount of production that has happened in a particular year. Okay, and per capita output would be that national income divided by the population, like we calculate the per capita income, right? So when we are talking about economic growth, we are talking about this national income or this per capita income, right? So when we say there has been economic growth in our country, there has been economic growth in our country, we mean that the per capita income is increased, right? In, clear to you? But this per capita income should be in real terms. Now what is the meaning of this increase of per capita income in real terms? Who can explain? What
Ma'am,
is the meaning?
ma'am, real terms meaning there has to be actual increase in the per capita income and it shouldn't be fake.
Okay, my last year income was 1500 per month. Now it has increased to 1600 per month. Is it a real income increase, per capita income? Why not
Yes,
Melvin?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Ved is saying yes, Melvin is saying no. Why not Melvin?
Yes, ma'am.
Ved, again you have turned to yes. Yes, Ria, is this
Ma'am,
a
it's
real income increase?
ma'am real. Yes,
Yes,
ma'am, it is. Ma'am,
Yes,
it
ma'am.
is.
Real income increased.
Okay, let's consider a situation. In this 1500 rupees that I used to earn last month, I was able to actually buy everything of my necessity. Okay, and I was able to save also. But when my income increased to 1600, the prices of goods also increased. So now what I could buy in 1500 rupees, I could not buy in 1600, and I am not even able to save. Now tell me, is this a real income?
No, ma'am, this is
increase?
not real income.
No,
Why
ma'am.
No,
not?
ma'am. This,
Why not?
ma'am, because ma'am, it's because at the end of the day, it's because it's both of them have like the same. Even if there's an increase, both of them balance out. Because
Yes,
even if there is
even
increase in there, but the products are more expensive.
yes,
So they
even if
balance out.
there was a increase in income in monetary terms, money wise the income has increased, yes, but it has been offset by the increase in prices. Okay, is it clear? So this is not considered as a real income increase. Understood? If it had been offset, not offset by the prices had remained same, or maybe in a situation the prices decreased. So now I have a real income increase because my monetary income has also increased 1600 rupees. I can save more out of it. Yes, with the same level of prices or a decline in prices. But if the prices also increase at the same rate, as my income has increased, then my actual income or my real income has not increased at all. Is it clear to you? So when we are talking about per capita income, we are talking about national output divided by the population. Yes, Ronak?
Ma'am,
Yes.
if your salary is 1600,
Hmm.
you told that if your salary increase in 1600 and in 1500 you got everything what you want, but why you don't get 1600?
Because the prices have increased, right? If a toothpaste last year I could buy at 10 rupees, now that toothpaste costs me 12 rupees.
Ma'am,
Ronak,
but what if your income level was high, like
if my,
50,000
yes,
or
that is what I
something?
am saying. If my income level offsets the change in price, because this will not happen that the prices don't change. Prices keep on fluctuating in an economy. Yeah. So if my income rise offsets that change, that means if suppose the prices have increased over the year by 10%, but my income increased by 20%. So it is a more than increase in the price. Yes or no? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So in this case, we can say that my real income has increased because I am 10% more. I've got 10% more now, right? Even if the prices increase, my income increase has been more than that. So that is my real income. Is it clear? What is the meaning of real income? So when we are talking about rise in per capita income, it should be in real terms and not in monetary terms. Okay? Because monetary terms are always confusing, right? It leads to a wrong information, right? So this talks about a quantitative growth in the economy. That means it is talking about only numbers, economic growth, right? But economic development, when we talk about economic development, not only talks about only per capita income rise, it also talks about other things. That means it talks about unemployment, it talks about poverty ratio, it talks about the income inequality. Okay, economic growth of a country can show that our per capita income has been increasing because our national output has been increasing. Yes, your GDP has been increasing, so divided by the population of the country, your per capita income is increasing. But that per capita income can also be there because the rich have become more rich. Yes, the 20% rich that we have, who were contributing 46% to the national income, have become more rich. So they are now more contributing to the national income. Does that mean that the poor have become a little bit better? Will your economic growth indicator, that is your per capita income, tell you that your poor has become better? Will it tell you that, children?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
No, it does not tell you. Economic growth does not tell you that because it is just a number. Which is okay. So when we are talking about economic development, we are considering all these things also. Okay, with your per capita income rise, your standard of living should also increase. Your poverty ratio should decrease. Right? Your poverty in your country should decrease. Unemployment rate should decrease. Okay, and what else? All these things, education should increase, the levels of literacy should increase,
Health.
health should improve, yes, provision of infrastructure should improve. That means, so this is a
Technology.
overall thing that you are looking at. Okay, so this constitutes the economic development of a place, right? So that is why we say economic growth and economic development are two very different things. Economic growth is a qualitative concept, quantitative concept. It tells you the quantity, the amount of increase, right? But economic development is a qualitative concept. It will tell you the quality of a thing. Okay, is it clear to you?
Yes,
Yes,
Right?
ma'am.
ma'am.
So an economic development is that process whereby the real per capita income of the country increases. Here you will talk in terms of real per capita income, that is their purchasing power should increase. Okay, along with a fall in poverty ratio, unemployment, and income inequalities, etc. Okay, so a difference between both of these is clear to you? Economic growth and economic development, right? So what is
Yes,
the
ma'am.
what is the major feature which distinguishes them? Generally signifies qualitative aspects of economic progress of a country, right? Development indices vary. For example, depending on distribution of income, incidence of poverty and unemployment. So these things keep on changing for economic development, right? Clear? So you have to show that actually here is where the changes have happened, and these changes should happen in the positive direction. Positive direction means, what is the meaning of positive direction? That these should
Ma'am, the
go
income
down.
should
Them
increase.
in the
Yes,
right manner.
income should increase, but incidence of poverty and
This
unemployment should
should
decrease.
go down.
Yes.
Decrease.
Okay. So this should be in a positive direction. Okay. Right. So what is the last thing that we are left? A simple differentiation between both the concepts. Economic growth is a very narrow concept since it talks about only a change in per capita income. Okay. But economic development is a more comprehensive term. That means it includes more things other than the per capita income, right? Economic growth talks only about rise in per capita income, but economic development includes many qualitative changes. I have told you the poverty, the unemployment, the difference between the rich and the poor. These all also are included in economic development. Okay. Economic growth involves only a rise in income, sorry, but economic development along with rise in income involves a reduction in poverty, unemployment, inequality of income, plus all the other indices that we have for human development index. Okay, all these are included in economic development. Then economic growth does not indicate economic development. Okay, if even if you have your per capita income rising, I gave you an example, even if you have per capita income increasing, it does not mean that the country is having economic development also. Yes, I gave you the example that my income increased from 1500 to 1600, but in fact I have become poorer because of the increase in prices. Yes or no? I became poorer, in fact. Yes, because the
Yes, ma'am.
prices
Yes.
increased. What I was able to buy at 1500, I am not even able to buy at 1600. So although my numerical value my pay has increased, my income has increased, but actually I have become poorer. Okay, so this economic growth will not indicate economic development. Okay, so a country may grow but may not develop, right? So it is not necessary that growth and development go together. So economic growth plus qualitative changes, when that happens, at that time only economic development happens. Okay, so the difference between growth and development is clear to you. Now we will start with the next chapter, which is resources. Okay, so what are resources? No, it is not resources. No, basic problems of an economy. We learned about the central problems of economy. Yes or no? What were the central problems?
Yes.
What were the central problems?
Ma'am, the central problems were the how,
Why,
For
how?
whom?
produce, why to produce, for whom to
Yeah,
produce,
why to
Very
produce, for whom to produce, and
and
for
how to
what to
produce, for
produce.
what you produce.
what to
Yeah.
produce, how to produce, how much to produce, and for whom
Ma'am,
to
can
produce.
we make a short form for this, like a word in WW something
Yeah,
like
that
that?
is your wish. Okay, these are the central problems of an economy, right? Central problems. Every economy has this problem. Okay, other than these problems, there are other problems also in the economy, like unemployment, like the rise in prices, which is known as inflation, or the income disparities between the people, infrastructure development. So other economies are also there, but these four problems which we say, these are the basic problems of it. The problem economy, when it starts, These are the first problems that they have to sort out: what to produce, how much to produce, and for whom to produce. Okay, that means allocation of resources should be proper in this kind of a scenario. For an economy, if allocation of resources is proper, what resources you are available, you have the resources, if they are properly allocated, then these problems, these basic central problems can be easily solved. Okay, so let's start with the first topic of our day, that is resources. What we have been talking about, resources is the fourth chapter. We have talked about resources, yes, how resources are allocated in a capitalist economy, how it is allocated in a mixed economy, how it is allocated in a socialist economy. We have learned all that, but have we learned what resources actually are? Have we learned that?
No, ma'am.
No. So think, put on your thinking caps and tell me, what are resources?
Ma'am, resources are materials used for making of products.
Okay, resources are materials used
Ma'am, they
for,
can be in form of raw or made.
okay,
Ma'am,
they are
ma'am, the materials which would help the economy to grow.
the material which would help the economy to grow. Okay, what
Ma'am,
am
a
I
stock
doing?
or supply of money.
Ma'am,
A stock or supply of money. Money is a resource.
ma'am,
Yes, yes, Rana.
ma'am, supply from which benefits is produced?
Supply from
Which benefits is produced?
which benefits you. Okay, utility, you have brought in utility in it, right? Supply of something which is useful to you. Okay, okay, now tell me, what am I providing to you? Am I doing an economic activity?
Yes.
We have learned about economic activities. Am I doing an economic activity? Shivam,
Yes, ma'am.
tell me, why is my activity an economic activity?
Ma'am, because you are teaching us and you are paying and you are getting paid for it.
Yes, because I am giving my services,
Yes.
and for that I am getting paid for it, right? I
Yes.
earn my wages because of this. So that is why my activity is an economic activity,
Economy.
right? And my activity comes under services. Yes, goods and services, when we talked about, my activities come under services, right? So tell me, I am doing an economic activity, I am providing a service. Am I not a resource? I am, my teaching is useful to you. Yes, it is a useful activity. It has utility. It has utility because in monetary terms I am getting paid. So it is an economic activity. So tell me, am I not a resource?
Yes.
I am a
Ma'am, you
resource.
are.
Yes,
Yes.
I am a resource. So other than your raw material that you were talking about, natural things that you were talking about, humans are also resources. Why humans are resources? Because it is a human only which puts these products to productive uses. Understood? Is it clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So let's start with our first thing. What are exactly resources? Okay. Now the meaning of resource, sorry, resources is, they are those things, first they should be usable substances, okay, which can be used. Second is, it should fulfill our basic needs. The main criteria of having an economy or an economic activity is that it should fulfill our needs. Remember, unlimited wants, limited resources. Yes, so the first thing is, it should be a usable substance. Second is, it should fulfill our basic needs. Third thing, it should satisfy our urge for a better living, right? Why would we use something? We want to use that thing because if it is a usable thing, if it has fulfilled our basic need, then our next thing should be, it should satisfy us because we want to have a better living. Then it should satisfy that urge also for us. Okay. And fourth is, utility of these substances provide value, and that is why they become resources. Okay. So what do we have? Where we live, our natural environment, it is a vast storehouse for resources? Yes or no? Right? These natural substances, they have utility, right? And they have that capacity to fulfill our human needs, right? So those natural substances that have utility and have the capacity to fulfill human needs are known as resources. Okay, right? So your human wants are satisfied, your basic needs are fulfilled, and your unlimited wants are also satisfied. Okay, is the definition of resources clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so all the natural substances which will provide us with utility and they have that capacity to fulfill human needs are termed as resources. Now resources have many types, right? There are different variation types of resources depending on where you are getting those resources from. Okay, so first types of resource is natural resource and natural, man-made, and human resources. Okay, so what are natural resources? Now natural, man-made, you have understood. These resources that we have as
Yes,
natural resources, that is all the raw material that is available to us, the rock, the minerals, the fossil fuel, the forest, all these are resources for us. Yes, because they have utility, they satisfy our basic needs. All these things are resources. All these are natural resources because they naturally provided to us. Okay, what are man-made resources?
Ma'am,
Ma'am, man-made resources are resources like ma'am, products built from all these raw materials that man
Yes,
has made,
which
like mobile
man has
phones,
made. Very good. Like mobile phones.
TVs.
Yes, those resources which are built from these natural resources, okay, and built by man. So those are man-made resources. And what are human resources? I gave you an example. You and me both are human resources because we are the ones who put these natural resources to use, who create these man-made resources. Okay, this I've already told you. Natural resources are their contribution of nature. Whatever exists in nature is usable by man, and water, air, mineral, sunshine, plant, animals, all of these are natural resources. Okay, now these natural resources are further classified. Okay, now there are different bases on which they are classified. The first basis on which they are classified is based on their origin. Where have these resources originated? Okay, so in this type there are biotic and abiotic resources. Okay, this you must have learned in science also. Biotic and abiotic. What is biotic? What is biotic?
Ma'am, obtained from living beings.
Yes,
Plants,
whatever.
Ma'am, the
trees,
plants,
All the
human,
living
human
things.
resources.
Yes, all the living things
Ma'am,
come
abiotic is
under.
non-living thing.
biotic
Yes.
means like table, chairs.
Yes,
that
all the
like
living comes under biotic. All the non-living things, they come under
Abiotic.
abiotic. Okay, so it's very simple. Biotic is all which are obtained from living beings. That means all the vegetation, the wildlife, the domestic animals, whatever we get from our biosphere comes under the biotic, including human is also a living thing only. So including human resource, all the things which you obtain from living beings come under this biotic. Okay, and abiotic is what you get from non-living things. That includes fossil fuel to minerals to metal to soil, whatever resources. For example, coal you are getting from fossil fuel, petrol, diesel, all these things are abiotic resources. Okay, and man is the most important biotic resource because he is using both the biotic and abiotic things and putting it to use and creating utility out of it, okay, to satisfy his own needs. Okay, so abiotic and biotic is clear to all of you.
yes, ma'am.
The second type of classification is on the basis of their exhaustibility. Okay, exhaustibility matlab things can be exhausted, things can be finished.
Renewable
Okay,
resources
so
too.
yes, they are renewable resources and non-renewable resources. This you have learned in science, in geography also. Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
renewable resources are also known as flow resources. Why they are flow resources? Because they are inexhaustible. They do not finish. Okay, their stock is continuous. Okay, now why I have written biotic resources are renewable resources? Explain to me.
Ma'am, because biotic resources are some only they're living things, so they can reproduce. So therefore,
Yes,
they can
very
also
good.
be known as.
Because, yes, because biotic resources, they can reproduce, they can be replenished again and again. Okay, that is why I have written that biotic resources are renewable resources. Even if deforestation occurs, right? When you plant more trees, afforestation will happen, plants will multiply themselves, they will reproduce, and you can again have a forest cover in that place. So that is why renewable resources, they are also known as flow resources. They do not finish. Okay, they do not exhaust. Yes, Ronak.
Ma'am, renewable resources also called biotic resources.
Yes, renewable resources, biotic resources are renewable resources. Okay,
Yes.
so they do not, they are flow. But there is also one more thing which comes in this. Biotic are all renewable resources. What else will come in renewable resources?
Ma'am, the products produced by these biotic materials, I mean resources,
Not
like
necessarily.
paper.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Coal and petrol are also extracted by these resources, but they do not become exhaust. Are they renewable?
No, ma'am.
Learned about solar power,
Yes.
wind energy.
Okay,
They
ma'am.
also come
Ma'am,
under renewable.
hydroelectricity.
Yes, so wind, water, air. These
Air.
also sunlight. Okay, these also come under renewable. Why? Because their flow is continuous. It is not going to end in the near future, right? It is continuous. So these are also considered as renewable resource. They will not decrease. They will not disappear. They will not be destroyed with use. Okay, but non-renewable resources, they are those which are exhaustible. Once you use them, they are finished, they are destroyed, right? For example, the minerals that you extract, the fossil fuel that you use, right? These things, they finish. Fossil fuel, they are not available everywhere, right? And it takes thousands and millions of years for them to form. So that is why these come under the non-renewable resources and exhaustible resources, because they decrease, they disappear, or they get destroyed when they are used. Okay, clear? Now, based on the stages of development, these resources, natural resources, have been divided into potential resources and actual resources. Okay, I will first take up actual resources. Actual resources are those resources which are used by the present generation, that is you and me. What resources we are using? We are extracting petrol and using it in our vehicles, right? We are using coal, we are using the forest product. Whatever we are using presently, whatever the present generation is using, are known as actual resources. Okay, now what are potential resources? What can happen is, see, there is a vast amount of water in the oceans. Yes, 70% of earth is covered with water, right? Out of the 70%, 97% of water is present in these oceans. Yes or no? But can
Yes,
you
ma'am.
use the water of ocean for drinking?
No,
No.
ma'am.
No, because it is very salty, right?
Yes.
Yes, and you have a potential threat because of pollution. Our freshwater bodies are declining. Yes or
Decline.
no? Yes.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
we have a potential resource. In future, if we are able to develop that kind of a system wherein we can use this salty water and use it for drinking, so the resource is there, but at present it is not being used because there is no technology to use that resource. Okay, it is there for future generations to use. That is termed as a potential resource.